Okay, so the Backrooms movie came out today, and I genuinely haven't stopped thinking about the ending since I left the theater. So yeah, we're doing this. Full spoilers from here. You've been warned. If you haven't seen it yet, just know it's a 24 horror movie that came out May 29th. It's based on Kane Parsons' YouTube series, the guy who basically built the modern Backrooms mythology from scratch starting in 2022, and it stars Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renate Riensv. Go watch it. Come back. We'll talk. Okay. Still here? Good. Let's get into it. So the movie is set in summer 1990. Clark Ejiofor is this sad sack furniture store owner. Divorced, drinking, sleeping in his own showroom. His store is called Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire, which okay, that's kind of a charming name, but hold on to that pirate mascot detail because it comes back in a deeply disturbing way. Clark starts seeing his therapist, Dr. Mary Klein, played by Renate Riensv, and their sessions are basically this mutual excavation. She's dealing with her own stuff, he's dealing with his. And then Clark finds a portal to the back rooms in his basement, and everything goes sideways. The back rooms in this movie are what you'd expect if you know the lore: endless, impossible corridors, wrong lighting, that specific feeling of being somewhere that almost looks familiar but isn't quite right. Like your brain keeps reaching for a reference and not finding one. Here's one of the more interesting things the movie does. Clark develops this theory, and it's emotional logic, not scientific fact, that the backrooms don't just trap you. They copy you. They make distorted versions of people who enter, which the movie calls still lifes. Humanoid, recognizable but wrong. Faces warped, bodies distorted. It's this idea that the space reflects your damage back at you. Clark is someone who's built an entire identity around this furniture store and this pirate persona, right? His whole public-facing self is Captain Clark. And what comes out of that? Okay, so the Clark pirate creature. This is the film's big horror set piece, and honestly, it's kind of brilliant thematically. The mascot from Clark's commercials, the Captain Clark pirate guy, grows into this massive creature, over 2 meters tall by the end, and it hunts Mary through corridors that shouldn't physically exist. Like Clark's ego, his branding, his coping mechanism for a life that's falling apart, it literally becomes the thing that consumes him and then goes after everyone else. The store created it, Clark fed it, and now it's loose in a dimension where nothing dies and nothing ends. So here's where it gets genuinely unsettling. Mary escapes the creature barely and is immediately hit with some kind of gas by a hazmat team that was apparently waiting, and she gets brought to an interrogation room. She meets Phil, played by Mark Duplass, who is giving off serious friendly face for an extremely sinister organization energy. Phil works for something called the Async Research Institute. He tells her they used to make MRI machines, but they found the backrooms, and now that's all they do, mapping it, understanding it. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, that nothing in recorded history means more. He doesn't tell her what happens next. He doesn't need to. Okay, wait, actually, if you've watched any of Kane Parsons' YouTube series, this hits different. Async is the shadowy research organization that's been running experiments in the backrooms for years. In the timeline of the shorts, the events of this movie take place literally 1 month after Async faked the death of one of their own employees, a guy named Peter Tench, to cover up some kind of catastrophic experiment. And then he escaped, back to the real world. So Async is already in full damage control mode when Clark's furniture store becomes their new incident. And on Mary's way to the interrogation room, there's this detail: a storage room filled with dozens of copies of the same cardboard cutout man, each one with a bilingual tape recorder attached. That was Async's best attempt at making contact with whatever lives in there, which is either darkly funny or deeply bleak, depending on your mood. Probably both. The closing montage is what really got me. We see snapshots of Mary's life, childhood, some kind of trauma she's been carrying. Her self-help book on store shelves, she wrote a self-help book, which I find devastating in retrospect. And then the montage ends on Mary, tied to a chair, and her face has the same warped distortion as the still lifes Clark was encountering in the backrooms. She's already becoming one, or she already is one. It's left open. And then the last shot, we're back at the store. Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire. But something is off. It looks like a memory of itself, like a photograph of a place rather than the place. The store has been consumed by the backrooms. Clark has been consumed by the backrooms. And whatever version of it still exists in there is just A copy, degraded, wrong. The Backrooms don't destroy things. They keep them, forever, badly. Okay, so the reading I keep coming back to is this. The Backrooms in this movie are basically a literalization of psychological entrapment. Clark built his entire identity around a brand that wasn't even really him. He retreated into Captain Clark when his life fell apart, and the Backrooms took that persona and scaled it up into a monster. Mary spent her career helping other people confront the things they were running from, and she never dealt with her own. And now she's sitting in a chair in a research facility, her face distorted, probably never leaving. Async doesn't care about any of this. They see a phenomenon, they want to map it. And the fact that people are in there, becoming still lifes, becoming copies, that's data. The ambiguity at the end isn't frustrating, at least to me, it's the point. The Backrooms don't have an ending, that's the whole thing. And the movie refusing to give you a clean resolution is kind of the most honest thing it could do. Probably. A 24 has it. They did talk to me and didn't rush that sequel, so there's reason to think they'll be careful with this one. And the Async storyline Peter Tench, the ongoing cover-up, the mapping project has so much room to expand. But also, part of me hopes they leave it here. Because the Backrooms ending with no ending is just correct. You don't escape liminal space by finding the exit. You just keep walking. Anyway, if you made it this far, what did you think of the ending? Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.